Good evening all. My name's Archie Farmer and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Carnot. I'd also like to start by asking you to raise your hands. Can everyone raise their hand if they think engines are bad for the environment? Crumbs. I think I might have come to the wrong event. Actually, I also think engines are bad for the environment when operated on fossil fuels. So today I'd like to talk about why fossil fuels, not engines, are the problem. Let me start with a story, a bit of a history of engines going back 200 years. So in 1824, Monsieur Carnot figured out that the maximum efficiency an engine can achieve is about 85%. Fast forward 200 years, and the average efficiency engines are achieving is 35%. At Carnot, we're developing technology that brings this up to a game-changing 70%. So why are engines so inefficient? In a nutshell, it's because they're made of metal. Metals can't withstand combustion temperatures, therefore you need a cooling system, which wastes, on average, a third of the fuel energy you put into the engine. So at Carnot, we're developing engines with components made from ceramics. These are able to withstand combustion temperatures, doubling the efficiency. And the benefit this brings, it not only halves fuel consumption and costs, but it halves CO2 emissions when operated on the same fuels. But we don't want to stop there. Our engines will be capable of operating on hydrogen, e-fuels and biofuels. These can be produced from entirely renewable energy and produce net zero carbon emissions, so we'll completely eliminate CO2 emissions from our target sectors. And about those, when most people think of engines, they think of cars. But as you can see from the pie chart there, cars only actually represent under half the CO2 emissions that come from engines. The rest come from heavy-duty sectors, such as road freight transport, generators, and shipping. And these are the sectors that we are targeting at Carnot. These are responsible for 4.5 gigatons of CO2 emissions every year. The problem is, it's very difficult to compete with existing engines in these heavy-duty markets. And this illustrates why. So if we take a large shipping vessel with a range of 60 days, the engine for that will cost about £5 million and it will weigh about 35 tons. If you try and do the same with a hydrogen fuel cell, that's going to set you back £100 million and it will weigh twice as much. If you were to actually try doing that with batteries, the battery system would set you back £19 billion and it would weigh 240,000 tons, leaving no room for cargo. So the point is, we need an array of technologies that are going to solve all the various challenges that we have. Battery technology is absolutely fantastic for cars, passenger cars, especially in the urban environment, but it's going to take different technology to address these heavy-duty sectors. So over the past 20 years, we have seen genuine scaling of renewable electricity, and this is a fantastic thing. Over those 20 years, we've started to realize there are some challenges that come with this. One of the key challenges is that it's sunnier in North Africa than it is in London. But London needs way more energy than North Africa. One of the key benefits that renewable fuels brings is they can be produced in areas from renewable sources in areas where the renewable energy potential far exceeds the demand, such as those in dark blue there, South America, Africa, Middle East, and Australia. And they can be transported to the areas where there isn't enough renewable energy to meet the demand, such as Europe, China, those kind of places. So let's let's say we're trying to decarbonize road freight transport with a new technology that needs new infrastructure. So that is going to need the infrastructure to be in place to scale. I'm talking about if we were thinking about hydrogen fuel cells, hydrogen combustion engines, that type of thing. You need the production of those fuels to be in place. You need the refueling stations to be in place, those types of things. So scaling that infrastructure might look something like that blue S-curve. Fleet operators are going to want that infrastructure to be available before they start adopting it at scale. So the adoption curve might look something like the green curve, and the phasing out of the inefficient, polluting diesel technology would look something like that black curve. Scenario 2, we scale with a fuel-agnostic technology like the Carnot technology that's able to scale using existing manufacturing supply chains. So that can scale very rapidly, all the time reducing CO2 emissions by 50%, bringing forward the end of the existing diesel technology, and also create the demand to pull forward the scaling of the infrastructure needed for the renewable elimination total elimination of CO2 emissions. And rolling those two scenarios out across our target markets, which are responsible for 4.5 gigatons, we predict that would save 30 gigatons of CO2. But what about pollutants? So we've talked about carbon dioxide, but engines also emit particulate matter. They emit nitrous oxides or NOx and hydrocarbons. These are some of the things that are targeted by ULEZ, for instance, to try and minimize those. So can engines ever really be zero emission? Well, if you look at the chemical equation for the combustion of hydrogen, there isn't any carbon in there. So the first three are straight away eliminated because there's no carbon to create any of those. And actually, hydrogen has a particular property whereby when it's burned at certain air-to-fuel ratios, you also eliminate the NOx. So they can be genuinely zero emission. And it's not just us going off on one, doing our own thing, thinking this is a good idea. Actually, every single one of the major industrial players is now developing hydrogen internal combustion engines because they realize the potential. So hopefully today I've shown that engines can still be the best solution for heavy-duty applications. Fuel-agnostic engines can actually accelerate the transition to net zero. Renewables fuels can match supply and demand globally, and engines can genuinely be zero emission. Thank you very much for your time.